Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know people are going to slowly start joining us as we go throughout the presentation because sadly we are having problems with passcodes, and I'm not sure what's going on between Zoom and Eventbrite. Our registration, we do all of our registration through Eventbrite, but for some reason, anything off of our Eventbrite is not connecting properly with Zoom. So we're working with both companies to get that corrected, but until then, we are sending out emails before with that information so that we can make sure everybody gets on. Because we are sending out that code and because we are doing that process, we are locking out our registration, or sorry, our webinars to avoid the hacking issue that a lot of companies are facing because for some reason these free events are fun to hack, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm really excited for you to join us today. My camera is moving very slowly, so I'm kind of stuck behind my computer, so I apologize. It's Monday and the camera's complaining about it, I guess. Anyway, I am Megan McFall. I am the director here at USU Spark. It was formerly known as USU Small Business Development Center. We have joined forces with about 3 other programs within this building, and so the university felt that it was better to rename the building so that it encompassed everything. So we're now a co-working space in one half of our building. We also do our USU innovation training out of this side of the building, and so this is part of that innovation training, as well as we still have the Small Business Development Center in part of the building. So we're really excited to be a part of that. I'm very excited to be directing that and developing those programs here in San Juan County. I'm joining from San Juan County. I would love to know where all of you are joining us from. Go ahead and put that in the chat. If you're watching the replay on any one of our platforms, feel free to put that in the chat as well. I do monitor all of those comments. If you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat as well. If you are participating live and you have any questions as we are going through, feel free to break in at any time. I get tired of hearing myself talk, and so I prefer a live conversation while I'm teaching. Because we still have some of the COVID restrictions in place here in our area, I have an empty room, which is very strange for me. So I really appreciate you. If you have any questions, go ahead and break in and let's answer those live as we go on. We really appreciate our partner, Grow with Google, that is helping us present this today. This is the Grow with Google on air, as well as our co-sponsor, which is our co-host, which is the Rural Online Initiative, or ROI, which basically helps individuals that are looking to work remotely or businesses that are looking to move their staff remote. It's a certificate that helps them know all of the ins and outs of working remotely. It's called the Masters of Remote Work Masters or something like that. Anyway, not my program, obviously. I took it last fall. I loved every minute of it. I've been working remotely with my businesses and things like that for years, and I actually learned several new things that I wish I would have known years ago. It had made my life a lot easier. So if you're working remotely, I highly encourage you to look into that program. We really appreciate their help as we put these on. So let's go ahead and get started today. So there we go. So our agenda today, first we're going to observe a variety of resumes so that you can get an idea as a hiring manager what is being looked for. Then we're going to learn 4 strategies to help improve your resumes. And then last but not least, we're going to go through a checklist for resume strategies. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to pose a question to you and go ahead and put it in the chat or break in. Tell me, how much time on average do you think a hiring manager spends looking at resumes as they're passing their desk? Anybody have any idea? If you're a hiring manager, you probably have a pretty good idea. I've had everywhere from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Somebody said all the way up to 30 minutes. Does anybody have any idea of what that would look like? Okay, so the average recruiter, for whether it's a hiring manager or a recruiting company, actually only takes about 10 seconds to look at a resume. And that seems to be very surprising for most people. It's usually 6 to 10 seconds to look through a resume to see if they have the qualifying requirements for whatever job position that they are looking for. So we are going to, I don't know why this is, there we go. Okay, so we are going to do a challenge. We are going to go through several resumes and we are going to be the hiring manager for this company. Okay, I want you to write down one word to describe the resume, but I also want you to put a yes or a no, whether they fit into that job description. Okay, as we look through these resumes, we're doing this so that you can understand basically how the hiring manager kind of works, the thought process behind what goes into some of this. Right now, hiring managers are extremely busy because generally they're not only just hiring or working a hiring manager position, but they're also working another position somewhere in the company because many companies are understaffed. And so they're filling in other gaps. Or it's a small company and the hiring manager is the owner or one of the higher level positions. And so they are actually working a position. So there's really not a lot of time to spend on the hiring process as far as looking through resumes and things like that. So in this scenario, we're going to be the hiring manager. We're extremely busy. We only have about 30 minutes on our lunch break. So we've got to eat lunch in addition to looking through these resumes to see who we're going to hire. Okay, so this is the position that we're going to hire for. This is a sales position, okay? We are seeking a high performer to join our sales team, okay? The successful candidate will be responsible for will be a responsible, motivated sales associate with a proven experience. This person will manage the entire sales cycle, okay? They're gonna identify sales needs, locating and expanding new markets, designing and delivering sales presentations, and presiding over negotiations. You will build and maintain expertise over a wide range of products. I don't know why my computer keeps going down. I hope that's not going down for you guys as well. A wide range of products and services to meet and exceed the personal and departmental sales goals. You'll need experience in customer. You'll need excellent customer service goals and entrepreneur worldview, business acumen, and a professional sales philosophy. So this is the position that we are hiring for, okay? So here's our first resume. I'm gonna give you about 10 seconds because that's the average to look over this resume. Again, you're gonna write one word about what this resume, kind of one word to describe this resume, and either it's a yes or a no for you. Nice, I'm getting some words in the comments. I love it. Thank you so much. Okay, so some resume strengths. I've already got some clean as a description, which is very good. So yes, has clear headings. It's a very clean format. I really like it, okay? It has lots of white margins. When you're reading lots and lots of resumes as a hiring manager and there's not that white margin, your eyes get tired and they're very difficult to read. So we want to make sure that we keep some white space and some wide margins on here, okay? Some resume opportunities that we're looking at, okay? We need to build out some relevant summaries. So basically on here, she puts the basically just one word answers as to what her skills were. We need to build that out a little bit more. Especially like bookkeeping, public speaking, things like that. Let's build that out a little bit more so that it is more relevant for this job position. Okay, tailor your experience to the position. She could have easily taken these different jobs that she has done and tailored them to what this job is looking for, and easily been able to fill in those gaps that was described in that job job description. Okay, here's the next one. Let's go ahead. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Look it over. One word and a yes or a no. Okay, there's your 10 seconds. Okay, looking over this. Dated and no, like that. Okay, so some of the strengths that they have, they listed the skills and accomplishments that he has down at the bottom. That is something that is very, very important when you're doing a resume. However, the resume opportunities describe the roles and responsibilities. He just put his job titles. He didn't put any roles and responsibilities of what to do. You cannot assume that a hiring manager is just going to know what that job responsibility is. There's no detail in what the expectations were. There was no goals, nothing like that. It's very, 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 for lack of a better term, very, very plain. There's not a lot there to really go on. Okay, another one here. Go ahead and we will start again. Okay, so 10 seconds are up. What are your words on this one? So this is a different resume than we have seen. So the strengths on this one, okay, he's got clear, simple, readable language. Okay, that's very, very important that you have simple, readable language, because if you're only taking 10 seconds to read through a resume, you want to make sure that you catch the attention by those headings that you're using, right? Okay, let's look at the opportunities on this one. This is a different resume than you'll see on a professional setting. And you'll be able to understand that because he's a designer, okay? You'll see very colorful resumes with different fonts and things like that, generally from designers, because they're trying to portray their design background, okay? Only include a photo when appropriate. And make sure that photo is professional, okay? In general, I encourage you, unless it's required, do not have a photo. But there are some countries that do require a photo. Some places in South America, Asia, Africa, and Europe actually require a photo as part of your resume. And if that's the case, do include that photo, but make sure that you have professional headshots done. One of the really important part is that's the first impression that you're putting out to that hiring manager or that company, and you want to make sure that that is done very, very well. You can tell this is a very artistic photo. You want to make sure that you're keeping your photos that you're putting on a resume very professional, okay? The next thing is typos. This is probably one of the most, what's the word for it? Biggest mistakes that are made is typos in a resume. The reason why you don't want to have any typos is it shows a lack of attention to detail when you have any typos within your resume. Okay, avoid distracting fonts and colors. So the only time where you would want the colors and the fonts and things like that is if maybe it's in the design industry and you're showing off that, but that's more in your portfolio, and make sure you're keeping that in your portfolio. You want to show off your skills in that design area, but keep that in your portfolio. Keep your resume very professional. It's going to be really, really important because that's, again, your first impression. Okay, there's another one. Let's go ahead and give you 10 seconds. I love it. Too busy. What's TLDR? I have no idea what TLDR is. I guess I'm out of the loop on some things. Okay. Yeah, too long. Nice. That's exactly what it is. So let's look at the strengths real quick. So he chose an appropriate font. We just got done talking about font, right? So he chose a very appropriate font for a resume. This is a very strong font, professional, and it looks very good. Okay, so let's look at the opportunities. We talked about it being too busy. There's no white space pretty much anywhere on here. Imagine looking through several resumes back to back to back to back, and they all look like this, right? It would be very, very hard to be a hiring manager and see that on a regular basis, okay? There's a lot of irrelevant experience on this resume that fills it up. And that's part of the problem with the white space. He could take off the irrelevant experience and actually have some white space. He has unnecessary links on his resume, so that's another opportunity for some white space. And then he's got a lot of crowding. It looks like he basically did whatever he could to fit as much as he possibly could on one page. The theory that you have to have your resume on one page I think has forced people with the idea that they have to put absolutely everything they possibly can on one page, and they crowd it all, and it's a kind of it makes a mistake actually as a hiring manager. Okay, we've got another one here. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so on this one, our strengths were, she's a detailed summary. And a lot of people are leaving off the detailed summary these days, and I'm not sure why. I don't know when we kind of moved away from the detailed summary. That summary is your opportunity to represent who you are and what you're looking for, okay? That's a really great opportunity. As a hiring manager, I've owned several businesses, sold several businesses, but when I was hiring for my businesses, I would go to that summary and I would read that very, very first. That was basically my look into that person's life or experience or whatever that might be, so that I could come in and say, that's a possibility, and I would take more time on the rest of the resume. So that's an opportunity to grab the attention of the hiring manager. It should not be more than about 3 sentences long. So you need to fit a lot of information in 3 sentences and have it flow. Whoops, wrong way. Okay, she has very simple explanations with measurable details, and that's really, really important. Again, we talked about a little bit about how leaving that off on one of those resumes, being able to bulletin those and leave those measurable details on here. I can see where those other job descriptions, where they might not, the actual job descriptions don't fit into the position, but because she put in those measurable details, I can say, oh, that fits into the different areas that we're looking for. Okay, the opportunities. That font is probably one of the hardest fonts to look at. Definitely needs a professional style there. Or a different font. It is professional, but it's very, very small. If you can't pull that up on a computer, remember the majority of people have moved digital. So if you can't pull that up on a tablet screen and actually look at that reasonably, then it probably is not the right font and you need to adjust that font, okay? Next, she needs to combine the different positions that are similar for the same company. So the difference between a senior analysis and a business analysis, well, we probably can combine that, leave her more white space, and have it look much more professional. So make sure that we're doing that as well. Okay, one more resume. Let's take a look at that. Ten seconds goes by so fast. Okay. Looking at this resume, it is a good resume, like it says in the chat. The strengths on this resume, the photo that is included is very professional. You can tell he had some professional headshots done. Again, only include a photo if it is appropriate, okay? He is a graphic and a web designer, so I can see that where some of the creativity of this resume is coming through. It's got a very clean layout. So this is another opportunity. We talked about the other person with all the colors and the fonts and stuff like that. being a designer as well. This person is a designer as well, but they were able to pull off the colors and things like that very professionally and pull that off. Very clean layout, plenty of white space, okay? Opportunities we're looking at, okay? Always proofread, again, your resume. You don't want a resume to go out with typos. Even like a spell check will miss simple typos. So make sure not just you read it, you spell check it, and then have a couple of other people read your resume before it goes out. Again, it's that attention to detail, and that can keep you from getting an amazing job. Okay, common mistakes that we're seeing on resumes. Okay, so first one, sparse or not enough information. Whoops. Sparse or not enough information. That's one that we looked at. We talked about just putting the job descriptions just not enough. You can't assume that they know the information on what each of those job descriptions mean, okay? The next one is crowding and hard to understand. This one is just the absolute, like reading this would be very, very difficult. We talked about that, especially in the chat, which was awesome. This one, distracting text and fonts. Make sure you're doing it in a professional way. If you want to use color, it's fine, but make sure you do that in a professional way. If you want to use different fonts, make sure you keep them professional and legible. That is the key, okay? And then last but not least, make sure that you are spell checking and looking things over. Make sure you don't send anything out with typos, because that's a big problem as well. So those are the 4 most common mistakes that go out in resumes. Okay, 4 strategies to improve your resume. We're going to go over these real quick. So the first one is choose a professional format. Okay, so there's the traditional format that we saw a lot. It's clear, it's clean, it's got plenty of white space, it looks good. There's the creative format that a lot of people are going to. It's got a little more color, a little more personality. You can kind of put your authentic self a little more into that. If it's appropriate for what you're going for, you're more than welcome to do that. But make sure that you keep things very professional and very appropriate, okay? Traits of a professional resume. Number 1, lots of white space and wide margins. Make sure that you keep that. It makes it easier to read, and it makes it easier to pick out those key points that we're looking for as hiring managers, okay? Keep it simple and readable language. Want something that's very simple. Don't try to get really, really fancy with your language unless it's appropriate for the job description. Keep it simple so that we can catch those. Again, remember, 10 seconds is not a lot to look over a resume. Okay, keep your letter headings or keep your headings clear. And then make sure you have an appropriate font, okay? One of the really great opportunities if you're building a resume is using a template, okay? So Google, if you go to Google Docs, within either you can go straight through Google Docs or you can go into your Google Drive, like my gift is showing you here. If you're on your Google Drive, go to Docs, and then you go down to templates. There are a bunch of templates in there that are already set up and semi-formatted for you. Those formats and those templates were created by designers based on a lot of research that was done by Google for you so that it is in the right format. There's enough white space, different things like that. Now you have the opportunity to change fonts, you can change colors, you can do things like that to make sure that it fits within your personality and your industry. But those are set up very specifically on purpose to give you a template to get started. So I encourage you to go and take a look at those and see if those will fit for you. Okay, the second strategy is highlight your skills and accomplishments. Again, make sure that you have that information on there, okay? Include the most recent work experience. Eliminate previous jobs that have no relevant experience due to the position that you're going for, and include the volunteer and part-time jobs that showcase your qualifications, okay? Make sure that we have those on there. So we're going to build a resume together, and we're going to pretend like this is your resume. On the left-hand side of the screen, you see a list of jobs. We're going to pretend like those are your jobs that you previously had, and we're going to build this resume for this sales position that we were just looking at resumes for, okay? It's the same sales position that we did earlier. We're just going to use these jobs as those positions. How can we take something as simple as a wait staff or a cashier or even a babysitter and put them into the proper language in order for it to fit on that position. So let's talk about that. So the wait staff identify upsells opportunity. As a wait staff, you do more upsells. I come from the restaurant industry. I owned a catering company. I ran several restaurants. I did turnaround. I tell you what, I'd have a competition with my server staff for upsells, and they were like spot on. They were incredible. And wait staff actually makes incredible sales team. And so putting that on there and wording it right will be incredible for your resume, right? Okay, as a cashier, you engage with customers, right? It talked about engaging customers within the job description. Volunteer work, raising funds from other area businesses. Making sure that you're including that type of small things that you do is really, really important. As a bank teller, you build a product expertise. A lot of people don't realize what small little things that they do within those other jobs will make a very big impact on a job that they're trying to go to. A babysitting job, you showcase responsibility. It's a huge responsibility to be in charge of somebody else's children, and to be able to showcase that is huge. And then last but not least, you are freelance blogging. You negotiated rates with publications. That goes back to that negotiation level that we talked about in that job description. So each one of these positions fits really, really nicely within that sales position. So you pretty much can take almost any job that you do, and if you think about all of the responsibilities that you have, you can write it into a job description that you need. So we go back. I hit the wrong button. Okay, so something that's really important that you do as you go through the different things, whether it is a part-time volunteer, your different school experiences, things like that, you want to keep a running list of those different opportunities that you do, so that when you are filling out a resume, you can go to that list and say, oh, that job that fits here and that fits here, and nope, I need to take that off and put it back here, so that you're able to pull from that list and have those different the details that you need to fill that experience. So I encourage you to have a docs file on your Google Docs that you just keep a running total of all your experiences, so you can go back and draw from that, because it's really hard to later to go back and think, oh, what are all the different things that I did? So number 3, cite specific examples and measurable details. And I think one of the hardest things for people is to get specific on these different things. And a lot of it's because, again, they did not write down the different information and getting very, very specific on what they're looking for. So specific projects that you worked on, improvements that you made, processes that you developed, trainings that you developed, goals that you attained, your impact numbers, and have exact numbers. So if you're in a sales position right now, or if you're in a position that has specific numbers, like for example, increased sales by 10%, or I trained 20 people over the course of a year, whatever that might be, you keep track of that information, because when you go and put that on a resume, it's very impactful and it's very impressive. And then any awards or recognitions that you have, okay? So think about how you would take this simple job. So this is a team lead at a big box store for 2 years. And these bulletins are what they essentially were in charge of. So they managed a team, they trained new people, they ran effective staff meetings, and they sold more than the sales target. It was very, very simple, very, very easy to put out, right? So the problem is it's not very descriptive, it's not very detailed. We talked about making sure everything is measurable. So let's look at this, let's build this out. So if we have all the information, we tracked all that information, we can build out a description that looks more like this. I managed a team of 8 employees. That's impressive. Got a number on there, okay? We hired from new hire all the way up to 15 years. Why is new hire all the way up to 15 years in the company important? It shows that your ability to take somebody that's brand new in the company and take them all the way up to a seasoned employee. That's why you need to include information like that, okay? You trained 15 new employees over 2 years, or in 2 years. That's again another number that shows that you have the ability to manage a team, to train a team, and to develop a team. Okay, you develop the onboarding program and documentation for the employee. That's another important thing to include in there. I ran weekly meetings with 20 attendees. Again, you're showing numbers and how often. Really, really important thing to include in there. Okay, exceeded individual sales targets by 20%. That's huge. All those numbers that they include on that one is really, really important because it gives an idea of your abilities, but also that you're goal oriented, because that was something, again, that was put on that last one. Excuse me. Hey, we're gonna do it one more time. So this is a volunteer at a homeless shelter, and the two things that they have listed is they served meals to the shelter residents and organized holiday events. Those are the two things. Does it look very impressive as those two things? No, but is it impressive? Probably is, if you get down into details. Again, going back to the details is really important. Serving meals to 200 people, 200 residents every other week for 6 months. That's really impressive, right? We need to get those details down. And then coordinating the holiday party, obtained $2,000 from local businesses, shows a fundraising effort right there, and prepared over 200 pounds of fresh food that was donated. Again, showing another ability to go and talk to businesses and negotiate, showing her skills within that job description. We're able to take that information and put it within a job description. Really important. Last but not least, tailor your resume to fit the job description. And as I'm going through this, I've been pointing out keywords, right, that falls in within that job description. So you'll be most successful with your resume if you match the language of the job description with your resume. It's really, really important. The majority of businesses that use these job-seeking websites and things like that, Indeed is probably one of the most popular ones that I can think of off the top of my head right now. They use AI technology, and so they'll take your resume and they'll scan your resume initially, and it's looking for those keywords from the job description to find in your resume. If those keywords are not in your resume, even though you're probably the most qualified for that job position and you could do it in your sleep, it's still not going to capture you for that job because you don't have the keywords. Okay, very, very, very important aspect of that. So if you take this job description and you look for keywords, pay attention to what they're looking for. Identify sales needs. Okay, locating, expanding new markets. Okay, I could go through this whole thing. There's multiple of those. If we look on this next sheet, it goes manage, identifying, locating, expanding, designing, delivering, building, maintaining. These are the things that that computer, for lack of a better term, is going to look for. And if you don't have those within your resume, it's going to pass you right by. So if you're submitting a lot of resumes and you're not getting calls for job interviews, that could be why. Go back and look at that. You should not have a general resume that you're sending out for every single job that you're wanting. Reason being is that you're not going to get calls because you're not keywording it. You should tailor your resume for every single job that you're submitting for. As small little tweaks, it's probably just a word here and there, but you need to have a tailored resume for every single job that you're submitting for. Okay, so in review, you need to choose a professional format. Okay, highlight your skills and accomplishments, really, really important. Cite specific examples of measurable details. Remember, go into the numbers, know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, see if you can find them out. Okay, and then tailor that resume to every single job. Okay, we already talked about using Google Docs to keep your work experience listed. I encourage you, even if you're not looking for a job right now, I encourage you to continue to do this because eventually it will come very, very handy. I wasn't looking for a job when I came here. It was something that just kind of landed. I also wasn't looking to become an instructor, and I had to fill out a Vita so that I could fill in some roles that was created. There's different things that will happen within your life that you're going to be very grateful that you had that. So even if you're not looking for a job specifically right now, go ahead and start filling this out because they're going to be really, really important eventually. Okay. If you take my using Google to help you in your job search, you already know what this is. What this is basically a job search plan. So as you're going throughout and you're searching for jobs, it's really hard to search for a job and then create your resume and apply for it right there and then, right? When you're searching for a job, you kind of get in a groove and you kind of want it to just keep going. So what this is basically a job search plan. It has the position, the name of the position, the company, where you found that job, as well as if it has a salary, you can put any of the details that you want to keep. I like to keep salary. I like to keep benefits details. The link to where that job is, because you need to go back and apply for that job once you've created the proper resume, right? You also need to go back and look at the keywords as you're creating that as you're creating the resume. I also like to put an in progress. And then if you're using Google Docs for your resumes, you can actually put your resume link for each of these job positions actually right on your Google Sheets. So if you get a job call for an interview, you can go and click on that link and it'll go bring up the resume that you sent them. So you can know exactly the information that they have in front of them. And you can kind of build that. Also, you can put any notes, so any research that you did on the company, any information about that position that you would want there. So it's a great tool to use as you're going through your job search, okay? Last but not least is a portfolio. If you are a designer of any sort, I encourage you to create a portfolio using slides. You can also use Cites. Google Sites is another great opportunity. I tend to like portfolio slides better because then I can just send the slides out to the potential employer. So that's a great opportunity there. That is all available. All of these programs that I talked about are available free through your Google. If you have a Google, a Gmail account, you have this Google Drive and everything already. If you don't know how to access that, hop on to one of my other classes that is using Google to help you with your job search. Any of those we go through that whole process. But make sure that you do that, okay? Your next steps, go ahead and visit the Google Docs. You can either go through your Google Drive or go through this website. Look at the templates for your resume and start building your resume. Choose one from the suites that fits your industry, experience, and your style. Examine your current resume to find places where you can include specific examples and measurable details, and then create a running list of experiences that you can tailor your resume with as you're going through the job experience. Last but not least, you're more than welcome to go and explore additional workshops on g.co-Google on Air. And that's where you'll find a lot more workshops like these on helping you build your resume, how to use Google to find your next job, how to network into your next job, things like that. I also have the majority of those timed on the Eventbrite, same site that you registered for this class on. I do them every Monday morning at 9 a.m. It's a different topic every Monday morning. So really enjoy the help on that. Are there any questions before we close up today? Doesn't look like we have any questions. Okay, well, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me this morning. My Grow with Google classes is one of my favorite classes to teach. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up today. We appreciate you guys joining us. If you're watching on the replay and you have any questions, go ahead and leave those in the comment or direct message me and we'll go ahead and get those answered for you. Next week is Gmail, communicating with Gmail and calendars and how to use those together. And really excited excited for that class as well. I'm teaching again. I'm really excited to be back teaching because the construction is finally done here. So you guys have a wonderful day. We appreciate you joining us, and we will catch you next week. And have a good one.